The most dangerous thing a narcissist does is not screaming. It is not slamming a door. It is not even the insult that leaves a mark on your heart for days. The most dangerous thing a narcissist does happens the moment they realize they cannot control you anymore. It happens when your fear starts leaving your body. It happens when your silence turns into boundaries. It happens when you stop chasing, stop explaining, and stop begging to be understood. That is when they change, fast. And if you do not understand what comes next, you can spend months thinking you are watching random behavior, when in reality, you are watching a desperate psychological strategy. Stay with me, because by the time we reach the 7th thing, you will understand why the final move is not just cruel. It is designed to live inside your mind long after the relationship is over. Most people imagine that when narcissists lose control, they simply give up and walk away. That is not what usually happens. Losing control does not make them weak. It makes them strategic. Because control was never just a habit for them. It was their emotional oxygen. It was the thing that made them feel safe, powerful, and important. So when you begin to pull away, when you finally say no, when you stop reacting the way you used to react, they do not see that as a normal change in the relationship. They see it as a threat. And threatened people do not always become louder. Sometimes they become smarter. Sometimes they become sweeter. Sometimes they become colder than you thought any human being could become. And that is exactly why this phase confuses so many people. The first thing narcissists often do when they lose control over you is become strangely wonderful again. This is the part that traps people who were just beginning to wake up. Suddenly, the person who ignored your pain becomes attentive. The person who mocked your needs becomes gentle. The person who could not remember one important date now sends a long message full of memory, regret, and warmth. It feels almost unreal because it is meant to. They are not reconnecting with you. They are reconnecting with your hope. They know your heart has one weak place left, and that weak place is the memory of who you believed they could become. So they speak to that version. They become affectionate, thoughtful, patient, and emotionally available just long enough to make you question everything you finally understood. This is not healing. This is retrieval. They are trying to pull you back into the old emotional system before your clarity becomes permanent. The second thing they do is turn themselves into the victim with shocking speed. One moment, you are finally naming what they did to you. The next moment, they are talking about their childhood, their stress, their pressure, their loneliness, their fear of abandonment, or how nobody has ever really understood them. Notice what happens inside you in that moment. Your anger gets interrupted. Your focus breaks. The conversation that was about your pain becomes a rescue mission for theirs. This is why so many people leave hard conversations with narcissists feeling guilty for having needs at all. The narcissist understands that pity can reopen doors that truth was about to close. So they cry, they collapse, they speak in wounded language, and they make your boundary feel like cruelty. But pain is not always proof of innocence. A person can feel hurt and still be manipulative. A person can cry and still be trying to control the room. The third thing narcissists do when they feel control slipping is test your boundaries harder than ever before. This is the stage where many people think the narcissist is getting worse. But what is really happening is very specific. They are checking whether your new boundary is real or temporary. So if you said you do not want late-night calls anymore, suddenly there is a late-night emergency. If you said you are done arguing, suddenly there is a message that demands an immediate answer. If you said you need space, suddenly there is a reason why space is selfish, cold, immature, or unfair. They poke every edge of your limit because they want to find the old version of you still hiding somewhere underneath the new one. They want to see if you will still explain, still defend, still panic, still rush in to solve the crisis they created. And this is where many people feel exhausted. because it becomes clear that their boundary is not being heard. It is being challenged. The fourth thing they do is bring other people into the situation. This is where the private relationship stops feeling private. Suddenly, friends, relatives, coworkers, or even strangers seem to be indirectly involved in your emotional reality. You hear things like, "Everyone thinks you are overreacting," or "My family cannot believe how cold you have become," or even, "My friend said you changed." This is called triangulation, and it is one of the fastest ways to make a person doubt themselves. Why? Because now you are not only dealing with your own pain, you are dealing with an invisible audience. You start wondering what has been said about you, who believes it, and whether you are being seen through a false story you never got to correct. This tactic works because human beings are deeply affected by social rejection. The narcissist knows that if they can no longer control you directly, they may still be able to control how safe you feel in the world around you. The fifth thing narcissists do when they lose control is create chaos right when you are finally finding peace. This chaos can take many forms. It can be a sudden accusation. It can be a dramatic health scare. It can be a financial problem that appears out of nowhere. It can be a threat, a disappearance, a breakup, a comeback, or a storm of mixed signals that leaves your nervous system spinning. The goal is simple. Confusion is easier to control than clarity. A calm person can think. A confused person reacts. So when they feel you becoming emotionally steady, they disturb the water. They bring you a new crisis, a new fear, a new mystery that demands your attention right now. And that is why this phase feels so mentally draining. You are trying to move forward, but every time you find solid ground, a fresh wave appears. It is not random. It is a tactic. Chaos makes you easier to pull, easier to distract, and easier to tire out. The sixth thing they do is go cold in a way that feels almost inhuman. This is where many survivors say the relationship started to feel unreal. After all the messages, all the emotion, all the claims of love, loyalty, pain, and connection, the narcissist suddenly behaves as if none of it mattered. They can become icy, dismissive, or bizarrely calm. They can move on in public with frightening speed. They can post happy pictures, speak to you like a stranger, or act as if your absence means nothing at all. This is one of the most psychologically violent parts of the experience because it attacks your sense of reality. You begin asking yourself impossible questions. Was any of it real? Did they ever care? Was I just useful? That coldness is not always a sign that they are unhurt. Many times it is a performance of power. They want you to feel replaceable because that feeling might push you into chasing them again. Indifference, when used by a narcissist, is often just another form of control wearing a quiet face. Before we reach the seventh thing, I want you to notice the pattern hidden inside everything we have covered. First, they pull you with affection. Then they pull you with pity. Then they push your limits, involve other people, create confusion, and finally go cold. Different faces, same mission. They are trying to answer one desperate question. Can I still control what you feel, what you fear, what you believe, and what you do next? That is why this stage is so exhausting. You are not dealing with one mood. You are dealing with a rotating system. And because the system keeps changing, many people keep hoping that the kind version is the real version, or that the wounded version is the real version, or that the cold version is just temporary. But the real pattern is the pattern itself. And once you see the pattern, you stop getting hypnotized by the costume changes. Now we reach the seventh thing, and this is the brutal move. When narcissists realize they truly cannot control you anymore, many of them stop trying to win the relationship and start trying to win the story. This is the final move. If they cannot control your heart, they try to control your identity. If they cannot control your choices, they try to control how other people see those choices. And if they cannot control your presence in their life, they try to control the version of you that survives after they are gone. This is where smear campaigns, half-truths, selective memories, and subtle character attacks become extremely dangerous. They may tell people you are unstable, selfish, abusive, ungrateful, dramatic, or mentally unwell. They may leave out everything they did and retell the relationship as if they were the patient saint and you were the storm. This is brutal because it does not only target your feelings, it targets your name. Why is this final move so psychologically devastating? Because human beings do not live by facts alone. We live by meaning. We live by belonging. We live by the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and by the stories other people reflect back to us. So when a narcissist starts rewriting your role, you do not just feel misunderstood, you feel erased. You feel as if your private pain has been stolen and turned into evidence against you. You start replaying conversations, checking messages, reviewing old memories, trying to prove to yourself that what happened really happened the way you remember it. And this is where the final move does its deepest damage. Even if they are no longer beside you, they are still trying to occupy your mind. They want you stuck in defense mode. They want you spending your energy explaining yourself to people who never saw what happened behind closed doors. They want your healing to slow down because confusion keeps them emotionally relevant. This is also the moment when many survivors make one painful mistake. They think the answer is to explain more, prove more, and defend more. That urge is understandable. When your character is being twisted, silence can feel impossible. But this is where emotional strategy matters. Not every false story deserves your full life force. Not every accusation deserves a courtroom inside your mind. Sometimes the most powerful response is not louder explanation. It is clean consistency. It is telling the truth once, clearly, to the people who matter, and then refusing to build your future around a lie someone else created. Because if you spend all your energy fighting for the old story, you may never get to live the new one. And that is exactly what the narcissist wants. They want your attention to stay trapped in the theater they built, even after you walked out of the room. If you are in this phase right now, I need you to hear something very clearly. The chaos you are seeing is not proof that you made the wrong decision. It may be proof that your boundary is working. Healthy people do not usually become more manipulative when you ask for respect. Healthy people do not need to destroy your image in order to survive your absence. Healthy people may feel hurt, but they still relate to reality. Narcissists often do not react to lost control with reflection. They react with strategy. That is why this stage feels so strange. You expected distance to bring peace, but instead it brought performance. You expected the truth to settle things, but instead it triggered a campaign. And if that has been your experience, you are not imagining it. You are watching what happens when control leaves a person who never learned how to love without it. So what do you do with all of this? First, stop judging the relationship only by its most tender moments. Judge it by the full pattern. Second, treat repeated confusion as information, not as a puzzle you must solve. Third, protect your nervous system like it matters, because it does. Limit access, document what is real, and return to people who make you feel clearer, not smaller. Fourth, remember that closure is not always a conversation. Sometimes closure is the moment you finally understand the pattern well enough to stop volunteering for one more round of it. And finally, do not measure your healing by whether they understand what they did. Measure it by whether you are becoming harder to manipulate and easier to trust in your own eyes. The final truth is this: when narcissists lose control over you, they reveal more about themselves than they ever did while they still had power. Control was the mask holder. Once it slips, you begin seeing the panic behind the charm, the calculation behind the tears, the emptiness behind the performance, and the cruelty behind the calm. That is why this phase hurts, but it is also why it teaches. It shows you that the relationship was never only about love. It was also about leverage. And the moment you truly understand that, something changes inside you. Their last moves may still hurt. Their story about you may still sting. Their coldness may still shock you. But it will not confuse you in the same way again. And when confusion breaks, control breaks with it. That is the moment your life starts coming back to you. Not all at once, but for real this time.